Have you ever noticed how the second you stop trying, he suddenly starts paying attention? The moment you pull back, he feels it. He wonders. He questions. He starts checking his phone, waiting for a message that never comes. And that, queens, is exactly why you don't text him back. Because nothing makes a man rethink everything like the silence of a woman who once gave him everything. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The closer a man is to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength." That is the power of emotional distance. When you react, when you chase, when you explain, you give him control. But when you hold back, when you detach, when you refuse to hand over your energy so easily, the power shifts. Now he's the one thinking. Now he's the one wondering. Now he's the one who doesn't know where he stands. And queens, that's exactly where you want him. Think of a fire. A fire does not chase the air that fuels it. It does not beg the wind to stay. It simply burns, powerful and unshaken. And when the air pulls away, the fire flickers, struggles, and fights to stay lit. That is what happens when you stop reaching out. He becomes the fire. He starts feeling the absence. He starts feeling the distance. He starts realizing that what he took for granted is slipping away. And that realization, it will haunt him. You have already given enough. You have explained yourself. You have tried. You have waited. And what did it bring you? Sleepless nights, overthinking, a feeling of being unseen, unheard, undervalued. But that stops now. You are no longer the woman who texts first, who waits for replies, who wonders if she's enough. You are not just enough. You are everything. And the moment you fully understand that, you will never again beg for his attention. Imagine a diamond. A diamond does not beg to be noticed. It does not lower its shine just to be held in hands that do not know its worth. It sits in its brilliance, waiting for the one who is wise enough to see its value. And if he cannot see it, that is his loss, not yours. The moment you step back, the moment you refuse to be an option, the moment you embrace emotional distance, is the moment he begins to feel the weight of your absence. But here's the thing, queens. This is not about playing games. This is not about making him chase just to prove a point. This is about you, about reclaiming your energy, about understanding that your attention is a gift, not something to be handed out for free. You don't text him back, not because you want to manipulate him, but because you respect yourself too much to waste your energy on someone who has not earned it. He is used to you being available. He is used to you responding the second he calls. He is used to knowing that no matter how he treats you, you will still be there. But what happens when that changes? What happens when you stop answering, when you stop explaining, when you stop showing up for someone who only remembers you when it's convenient? He feels the loss. He feels the void. And suddenly, your silence is louder than anything you could ever say. And this is where your transformation begins. This is where you stop waiting for his attention and start commanding it. Not by chasing, not by proving, but by stepping back into your power. A queen does not lower her crown to be seen. She stands in her power, and the world takes notice. That is who you are now. That is the energy you must embrace. He may reach out, he may try to pull you back in, but now the choice is yours, not his. He had the chance to value you, he had the chance to appreciate you, but instead he assumed you would always be there. And now? Now he learns. Now he sees. Now he understands that the woman he once took for granted has become untouchable. Queens, this is your moment. The moment you stop waiting, the moment you stop overthinking, the moment you reclaim everything that you once gave so freely. Your energy is sacred. Your presence is a privilege. And the moment you understand that, you will never again be the woman who waits for a message that may never come. Let him wonder. Let him feel the absence. Let him sit in the silence of a woman who has finally had enough. And when that moment comes, when he realizes what he lost, it will already be too late. Because by then, you will have already stepped into the life you were always meant to live. Write this affirmation in the comments and claim it. My silence speaks louder than his presence ever could. Let the world know that you are done chasing, done proving, done waiting. And queens, if this message awakened something inside you, if it reminded you of the power you've always had, then take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We are here, working hard to bring you the wisdom, the power, and the truth that will set you free. Because you were never meant to beg, you were meant to reign. Number 1. A woman's silence is louder than 1,000 words. Have you ever noticed how the second you stop trying, he suddenly starts paying attention? The moment you go silent, the moment you pull back, everything changes. Suddenly, he's checking his phone, wondering why your message isn't there. He feels the shift, and that feeling, that uncertainty, that's more powerful than any words you could ever say, because silence is not empty, it is full of answers. Seneca once said, "As long as you say nothing, you are in control." And that is exactly where your power lies. Words can be ignored, argued with, twisted, but silence? Silence lingers. Silence makes him wonder, makes him question, makes him realize. When you stop explaining, stop proving, stop chasing, he is left alone with nothing but his own thoughts. And those thoughts will do the work for you. Imagine a storm. A storm does not ask for attention, it simply arrives, shaking the world with its presence. But what happens when the storm passes? The silence that follows is even louder. The absence of the wind, the stillness of the air, it is felt in every corner. That is what happens when you stop texting him back. Your silence will echo in his mind, filling every empty space where your love, your attention, your energy used to be. You have given enough. You have explained yourself 1,000 times. You have waited, hoping he would see your worth. But he didn't. He took your presence for granted. He assumed you would always be there, always reaching, always proving your love. And now, it is time to do something different. It is time to let go. Not with anger, not with games, but with quiet, unstoppable strength. Because here's the truth. A man does not cherish what he believes he will never lose. He does not chase what he thinks will always be there. But the moment you walk away, the moment you stop trying to make him see your value, that is the moment he finally does. At first, he won't understand. He will think you are just being dramatic, that you will eventually give in. He will wait for your message, expecting you to return like you always do. But as time passes, he will feel it. He will feel the space you once filled, the warmth you once gave, the attention he never had to work for. And when he finally realizes what he lost, it will be too late. This is not about revenge. This is not about playing games. This is about respect. Respect for yourself, for your time, for your energy. You are no longer the woman who begs for attention, who overthinks every silence, who wonders if she is enough. You are not just enough. You are everything. And the moment you understand that, the moment you stop giving your energy away so freely, is the moment you become untouchable. Queens, you are not chasing. You are choosing. You are stepping into the power that was always yours. Imagine a diamond. A diamond does not beg to be noticed. It does not ask to be chosen. It simply exists, rare and priceless, waiting for the one who recognizes its value. That is you. And if he is too blind to see it, then he was never worthy in the first place. Let him wonder. Let him feel the silence. Let him sit in the space where you once were and realize that the woman he thought he could take for granted is now the woman he can never replace. Queens, write this affirmation in the comments and claim it. My silence speaks louder than his presence ever could. Let it be your truth. Let it be your strength. Let it be the power that reminds you who you are. And if this message woke something inside you, if it reminded you of the power you've always had, take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We are here, working hard to bring you life-changing lessons because you were never meant to beg, you were meant to reign. Number 2. When you stop reaching, he starts searching. Have you ever noticed how the more you try to hold on to him, the further he slips away? How the more you reach out, the colder he becomes. It's like chasing the wind. The harder you run, the faster it disappears. But the second you stop, the moment you pull back, that's when everything shifts. Suddenly, he starts noticing. He starts thinking. He starts wondering why the woman who once gave him everything has now gone quiet. Marcus Aurelius once said, "A man's worth is no greater than his ambitions." But here's the truth. His ambition fades when he feels no risk of losing you. When you're always available, always reaching, always trying, he feels no urgency, no pressure, no fear of missing out. But the moment you step back, the moment you stop giving him the comfort of knowing you'll always be there, that's when he starts searching for what he once ignored. Think of a flame. A fire does not chase the air, it simply burns. But when the air pulls away, when the oxygen thins, the fire struggles, gasps, fights to stay alive. That is exactly what happens when you stop reaching out. He becomes the fire, realizing too late that the warmth he once ignored is slipping away. He will check his phone, expecting your name to appear. He will replay old conversations, searching for signs of what went wrong. He will wonder if you've moved on, if you found someone else, if you ever really needed him at all. And that's when he starts searching. You have spent enough time overthinking, enough nights staring at your phone, enough days analyzing his mixed signals. But now, it's time to do something different. Now, you stop. No more explaining, no more proving, no more handing over your power to a man who doesn't even realize he's holding it. Because, queens, the second you detach, the second you take back your energy, the second you refuse to give what isn't being cherished, he will feel it. You were never meant to chase. You were meant to be chased. You were never meant to beg for attention. You were meant to command it. And when you finally embody this truth, when you stop being the woman who waits, who hopes, who gives without limits, he will feel the shift. The moment he realizes your absence is not temporary, that you are no longer sitting on the sidelines waiting for his crumbs, that's when his world turns upside down. A queen does not lower herself to be chosen. She does not plead for attention. She does not wait for a man to realize her worth. She chooses herself first, and in doing so, she forces him to choose too. Does he rise to meet your value? Or does he watch from a distance, paralyzed by the fear of losing what he thought was his forever? Either way, you win. Because you are no longer waiting for validation from a man who needed your absence to appreciate your presence. Let him wonder. Let him feel the emptiness. Let him sit in the silence he once took for granted. And if he is truly meant for you, if he is truly worthy, he will come back. Not because you begged, but because he finally understands that a woman like you is not replaceable. But by then, the question will no longer be whether he wants you. It will be whether he still deserves you. Queens, this is your moment. The moment you stop reaching and start choosing. The moment you take back every ounce of energy you wasted on a man who never truly saw you. The moment you remind yourself that you were never meant to be an option, you were meant to reign. Write this affirmation in the comments and claim your power. The moment I stop reaching, he starts searching. Let it be your truth. Let it be your strength. Let it be the fire that reminds you of who you are. And queens, if this message spoke to your heart, if it reminded you of the power you've always had, then take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We are here, working hard to bring you life-changing lessons, because you were never meant to beg. You were meant to reign. Number 3. Emotional distance is the ultimate mirror. Have you ever wondered why he only seems to notice you when you stop noticing him? Why the moment you pull away, he starts searching for you? Why your silence shakes him more than all the words you ever spoke? That is the power of emotional distance. It is not just a strategy, it is a mirror that forces him to see himself clearly, his choices, his mistakes, his losses, and queen, that mirror does not lie. Seneca once said, "Withdraw into yourself, and you will see how few things are truly within your control." That is the truth that emotional distance reveals. The more you try to hold on, the more powerless you feel. But the moment you step back, everything becomes clear. Not just to him, but to you. You start to see who values you and who only valued your effort. Who was truly present, and who was only comfortable knowing you were there. Emotional distance does not push him away. It shows him what he was always too blind to see. Think of a reflection in water. When you stand too close, when you keep stirring, the image is distorted, unclear, chaotic. But the moment you take a step back, the ripples settle, and the truth appears. That is exactly what happens when you create space, when you stop chasing, when you stop proving. Suddenly, he has no choice but to see reality. He has no choice but to sit with his own actions. He has no choice but to realize that the woman he once took for granted is no longer his to reach. You have already given enough. You have explained yourself. You have waited for him to understand, to appreciate, to change. And where did that leave you? Overthinking, questioning your worth, feeling like no matter how much you did, it was never enough. But here's the truth. You were never the problem. You were never too much. You were never asking for too much. You simply expected from him what he was never willing to give. And now it is time to let the mirror do the work. Let him see himself without your efforts softening the edges. Let him feel the silence where your love used to be. Let him sit in the space where you once filled every void. A queen does not hand out her presence like spare change. She does not beg to be seen. She does not force a man to understand her worth. She steps back, she stands tall, and she lets him figure it out on his own. And, queens, that is exactly where you are now. You are no longer fighting to be understood. You are no longer over-explaining, overthinking, over-giving. You are stepping back and allowing emotional distance to reveal the truth. If he values you, he will show it. If he does not, then that truth was never going to change, no matter how much you tried. And when he realizes, when he finally sees the reflection, when he finally understands that the woman who once gave him everything is now untouchable, that is when regret hits. That is when the weight of his choices finally sinks in. That is when he understands that emotional distance is not punishment. It is revelation. But by then, Queen, you will already be too far ahead. too strong, too powerful, too unshakable to turn back. Write this affirmation in the comments and claim it. My distance is his mirror. Now let him face it. Let the world know that you are done proving, done chasing, done waiting for a man to see what should have been clear from the start. Queens, if this message awakened something inside you, if it reminded you of the power you hold, then like this video and subscribe to the channel. We pour our hearts into creating life-changing lessons that uplift you, strengthen you, and remind you that you were never meant to beg. You were meant to reign. Number 4. You were never meant to chase. You were meant to be chased. Have you ever wondered why the more you give, the less he values it? Why the harder you try, the further he pulls away? It's almost as if the second you start chasing, he stops running toward you. But the moment you step back, when you stop reaching, when you let go, suddenly he notices. Suddenly he starts wondering. Suddenly the energy shifts. This is no accident. This is the unspoken truth of attraction. You were never meant to chase. He was meant to chase you. Marcus Aurelius once said, "A man's worth is no greater than his ambitions." The same is true for relationships. If he does not feel the ambition to fight for you, to earn you, to prove himself, then why are you handing yourself over so easily? A man values what he must work for. He cherishes what he has to win. The more effort he puts in, the more invested he becomes. But if you are always there, always waiting, always proving, where is his motivation? Where is his fear of losing you? Imagine a rare flower blooming high on the peak of a mountain. A man who truly wants it will climb, sweat, and struggle to reach it. He will take the journey not because it's easy, but because the prize is worth it. But what happens when that same flower lowers itself, when it tries to make itself more available, when it chases instead of standing in its beauty? It loses its mystery. It loses its value. It becomes just another flower in the field, easily taken, easily forgotten. This is why you do not chase. This is why you do not text him first. This is why you hold your power instead of handing it away. The moment you start chasing, the moment you start proving, is the moment he stops seeing your worth. Because nothing precious is ever desperate. You were not meant to wait by the phone. You were not meant to overthink his silence. You were not meant to shrink yourself just to fit into his world. You were meant to rise, to stand in your power, to be the prize, not the pursuer. And when you truly embrace that, when you refuse to lower your standards, that is when he starts to see you in a new light. That is when he starts to feel your absence. That is when he starts to wonder if he lost something he can never get back. Think of the sun. The sun does not chase the planets, yet everything revolves around it. It shines, it radiates, it stands in its power without needing to beg for attention. And those who recognize its light, they orbit around it, drawn to its warmth, unable to resist its presence. That is you. You do not need to beg. You do not need to prove. You simply need to exist in your power and let the right one recognize your worth. A man will always value what he fears losing. If he knows, you will always be there. If he knows, you will always forgive. If he knows he does not have to fight for you, he will never see you as a priority. But the moment you step back, the moment you stop answering, the moment you refuse to make him the center of your world, that is when he feels the shift. That is when he starts chasing. That is when he realizes you were never his to take for granted. And if he doesn't, if he lets you walk away without a second thought, then he was never worthy of you in the first place. Queens, enough waiting. Enough chasing. Enough giving all of your love to someone who does not even know what to do with it. You are the fire, the crown, the diamond. You do not lower yourself for a man. You rise. And the right one? He will meet you at your level, or he will watch as you walk away, never to return. Write this affirmation in the comments and claim your power. I do not chase, I attract. Let this be your truth. Let this be your power. Let this be the moment you finally understand who you are. And queens, if this message awakened something inside you, if it reminded you of the power you have always had, then take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We pour our hearts into creating content that uplifts, empowers, and transforms. Your support helps us continue this mission, and together we rise, we thrive, and we reign. Number 5. If he doesn't miss you in your absence, he never valued you in your presence. Have you ever noticed how easy it is for him to take you for granted when you're always there? How he barely notices your love when it's freely given, but the moment you pull away, something shifts. The same man who ignored your calls, who responded when it was convenient, who treated your presence like an afterthought, suddenly he starts watching, waiting, wondering where you went. But if he doesn't miss you when you're gone, if your silence doesn't shake him, then, queen, he never valued you in the first place. Seneca once said, "Regret is more painful than loss," and that is the lesson he will learn when you finally stop reaching out. Because a man who truly cared would never be comfortable with your absence. He would never let your energy slip through his fingers without a second thought. If he is unbothered when you walk away, that means he never truly saw your worth. And queens, you were never meant to beg for a place in his life. Think of the sun. It rises every morning, giving warmth, light, and life to everything around it. It never asks to be noticed, never demands appreciation. It simply shines. And yet, people take it for granted. They ignore it. They assume it will always be there. But on the rare days when it disappears, when the world is covered in darkness, only then do they realize how much they needed it. That is exactly how a man feels when he loses a woman who once gave him everything. The warmth, the light, the love, gone. But if he doesn't feel the loss, then, queen, he was never worthy of your presence to begin with. You have already given enough. You have loved. You have forgiven. You have explained yourself 1,000 times. But if he never truly appreciated it, what more can you possibly do? The more you overgive, the less he values. The more you try, the more he assumes you will always try. And the moment you stop, the moment you go quiet, that's when the truth reveals itself. If he truly cared, your silence would be unbearable. He would feel the absence of your energy. He would wonder why his phone isn't lighting up with your name. He would go back through old messages, trying to figure out where it all went wrong. But if he doesn't, if he lets you go without a fight, then the truth is clear. He was never afraid of losing you, and that should tell you everything you need to know. Queens, this is where your power lies, not in chasing, not in proving, but in detaching. You are not here to convince him to see your worth. You are not here to beg for his time. The love you give is a privilege, not something to be handed out to a man who treats it like an option. You don't need to scream your value. You need only to step back and let your absence do the talking. Imagine a rare painting locked away in a private collection. As long as it is available, as long as it sits there unnoticed, nobody thinks twice about it. But the moment it's gone, the moment it's no longer accessible, that's when people suddenly realize what they lost. If a man does not recognize your worth while you are present, he does not deserve the chance to regret you when you're gone. And now, you make the choice. You stop texting first. You stop waiting for his response. You stop explaining yourself to a man who should have never needed an explanation. If he wanted you, he would have made sure you knew. If he valued you, he would have never put you in a position where you had to question your worth. His actions have already told you everything. Now, it's time for your actions to speak louder than words. So let him feel the emptiness. Let him sit with the silence. Let him realize, too late, that he lost something rare. And by the time he understands, you will already be too far ahead, too powerful, too untouchable. Queens, write this affirmation in the comments and claim your power. If he doesn't miss me in my absence, he never deserved me in his presence. Let it be your truth. Let it be your strength. And if this message awakened something inside you, if it reminded you of the power you have always had, then take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We are here, working hard to bring you life-changing lessons because you were never meant to beg, you were meant to reign. Number 6. Your energy is a gift. Stop giving it away for free. Have you ever wondered why you feel so drained after dealing with him? Why every unanswered text, every moment of waiting, every ounce of effort leaves you feeling empty? It's because your energy is a gift, and you've been giving it away for free. You have poured your love, your time, your thoughts into him, hoping he would see your worth. But he didn't. He took and took and took, without ever thinking about what it cost you. And now, you're left with nothing but exhaustion, wondering where you went wrong. But queens, you didn't go wrong. He was never meant to hold what he didn't earn. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." And yet, your thoughts have been consumed by him. You've spent nights overthinking his silence, replaying every moment, wondering what you could have done differently. But here's the truth. Your energy is priceless, and you have been handing it out like it was nothing, but no more. The moment you understand your worth, the moment you stop giving away your power without return, everything changes. Imagine a river flowing endlessly, giving water to everything in its path. It nourishes the land, the trees, the animals. But what happens when the river gives too much? When it has nothing left? It dries up, it disappears, it vanishes into nothingness. That is exactly what happens when you keep pouring your love, your attention, your soul into a man who does not pour anything back into you. You are not an endless source of energy for him to take from. You are not a well for him to drink from without effort. You are a force, a presence, a storm, one that should never be depleted for a man who does not cherish it. You think that if you just give a little more, if you try a little harder, he will finally see your worth. But he won't, because a man does not value what he does not have to work for. He does not appreciate what he assumes will always be there, and the harder you try, the less he respects what you offer. That is the brutal truth. A woman who gives without boundaries is a woman who is taken for granted. But a woman who knows her worth, who protects her energy, who understands that her presence is not a right, but a privilege, she is unforgettable. Now is the time to pull back. Now is the time to reclaim every ounce of energy you wasted on a man who never deserved it. Do not text him back. Do not give him your attention. Do not waste another second wondering what he's thinking, what he's doing, what he wants. Because the moment you do, you are handing him your power. And queens, your power is not up for negotiation. You have spent too long making sure he is happy, too long worrying about what he wants, what he needs, what makes him comfortable. But what about you? When was the last time you chose yourself over him? When was the last time you stopped wondering if he would text back and started wondering what makes you feel alive? Because this is where the real transformation happens. Not when he comes back, not when he finally realizes your worth, but when you see it for yourself. A queen does not chase. A queen does not beg. A queen does not hand out her energy to those who do not deserve it. She stands in her power. She guards her heart. She invests in herself. And when she does, the world shifts to match her worth. Let him wonder why your texts have stopped. Let him feel the absence of your energy. Let him sit in the silence and realize too late that what he had was something no other woman will ever give him again. Queens, your energy is sacred. It is time to guard it. No more chasing, no more proving, no more waiting. A queen does not waste her power on a man who does not deserve it. She invests in herself, in her growth, in her peace. And when she does, everything in her life aligns to match her worth. Let him wonder. Let him miss you. Let him feel the weight of your absence, because nothing haunts a man more than the woman who once gave him everything, only to decide she no longer will. Write this affirmation in the comments and claim your power. My energy is priceless. I will not give it away for free. Let the world know that you are done wasting your power on the unworthy. And queens, if this message spoke to your soul, if it reminded you of the strength that has always been inside you, take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We are here, working hard to bring you life-changing lessons because you were never meant to beg. You were meant to reign. Number 7. The strongest negotiation is the one where you walk away without a word. Have you ever noticed that the moment you stop explaining, stop proving, stop begging, everything changes? The second you walk away without a word, he suddenly starts paying attention. He starts questioning. He starts feeling the loss. Because nothing is more powerful than a woman who chooses silence over pleading, distance over desperation, self-respect over seeking validation. This is not just about ignoring a message. This is about reclaiming your power. This is about understanding that the strongest negotiation you will ever make is the one where you refuse to argue your worth. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." Read that again. You don't need to fight. You don't need to prove your point. You don't need to beg him to care. You simply walk away. Because the moment you do, the balance shifts. He was used to you being there, being available, being the one who always tried. Now you are gone. And the silence you leave behind will be louder than anything you could have said. Think of a queen sitting on her throne. She doesn't beg. She doesn't chase. She doesn't explain herself to those who cannot see her worth. She sits in her power, unshaken, knowing that the right ones will rise to meet her. That is who you are now. You are not here to convince a man to see your value. If he needed to lose you to understand your worth, then he never truly deserved you to begin with. Walking away without a word is not weakness. It is the ultimate strength. It tells him, I do not need you. I do not need closure. I do not need an explanation. My worth does not require your approval. And that is the moment he feels it. That is the moment he realizes that you were never his to take for granted. That is the moment he starts chasing what he once thought would always be there. Imagine holding a rope in a tug of war. You pull with everything you have, but he barely holds on. You keep pulling, hoping he will try, hoping he will pull back, hoping he will meet you halfway. But he doesn't. He lets you do all the work. And then, one day, you let go. The rope falls, he stumbles, And suddenly, he realizes that without your effort, there is no game. That is exactly what happens when you stop fighting for him. When you stop explaining, stop proving, stop waiting, he is left with nothing but the absence of the woman who once gave him everything. Queens, this is your moment. The moment you stop seeking validation from a man who never saw your worth. The moment you understand that your silence is more powerful than his presence ever was. The moment you step into the reality that you are not here to be an option. You are the prize. He may text, he may call, he may try to pull you back in. But now, the choice is yours. And that is the moment he will truly understand what he lost. Do not let him confuse your kindness for weakness. Do not let him mistake your love for dependency. Do not let him believe that he can walk in and out of your life as he pleases. You are no longer the woman who waits, who hopes, who wonders. You are the woman who walks away without a word. And in that silence, he will feel your power more than he ever did when you were explaining, begging, or trying to make things work. Queens, write this affirmation in the comments and claim your strength. My silence speaks louder than his presence ever could. Let the world know that you are done proving, done waiting, done chasing. And if this message awakened something inside you, if it reminded you of the power you've always had, then take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We are here, working hard to bring you life-changing lessons because you were never meant to beg, you were meant to reign. Number 8. A queen does not beg for a throne. She sits and waits for the one worthy to kneel. Have you ever seen a throne chase after a king? Have you ever seen a crown beg to be worn? Number A throne stands tall, untouched, waiting for the one worthy enough to claim it. A crown doesn't lower itself. It is lifted by the hands of those who understand its value. But here you are, lowering yourself, waiting, hoping, asking for a love that should have been given freely. You text first. You wait for replies that come too late. You give and give, thinking that if you just show him how much you care, he will finally see your worth. But does he? Or does he take you for granted? Every time you reach out, you make it easy for him. Every time you prove your love, you remind him that he doesn't have to try. And that is why everything must change. You do not beg to be chosen. You choose. You do not chase. You step back and let him realize what he stands to lose. Marcus Aurelius once said, "A man's worth is no greater than his ambitions." The same applies to you. If your ambition is to be valued, to be cherished, to be respected, then why are you lowering your worth for a man who does not see it? Why are you standing outside a closed door, knocking, waiting, when you should be building a castle where you are celebrated, not tolerated? Think of the sun. The sun does not beg to shine. It does not dim itself for those who cannot handle its heat. It rises, burns, radiates, and the world feels its power. The right ones embrace its warmth, while the weak hide in the shade. You are that sun. You do not need to shrink, to explain, to prove. If he cannot handle your presence, let him step away. But you keep shining. You believe that if you just try harder, if you just wait a little longer, he will finally wake up. But a man who does not cherish you in your presence will not suddenly see your worth in your absence, unless you make him feel the loss. And the only way he will feel it is if you stop reaching, if you stop responding, if you stop giving your energy away like it is something he is entitled to, because he is not. A queen does not plead for a throne. She is the throne. She does not ask to be valued. She is valuable. And the man who truly sees her, who truly understands what he has before him, does not make her question her worth. He does not make her chase. He rises, he earns, he kneels, and if he does not, then he was never worthy of you to begin with. You are not a woman who waits. You are not a woman who begs. You are a woman who decides. And right now, you decide to step back, to detach, to let him feel the weight of your absence. Because the moment you stop chasing, he starts realizing. The moment you go silent, he starts listening. The moment you refuse to be an option, you become the only choice that matters. Let him wonder. Let him miss you. Let him sit with the silence where your presence used to be. And when he finally realizes what he lost, when he finally understands that the woman he once took for granted is no longer waiting, it will be too late. Queens, write this affirmation in the comments and claim your power. I do not beg for a throne. I am the throne. Let it be your truth. Let it be your fire. Let it be the moment you reclaim your worth. And if this message spoke to you, if it reminded you of the strength you have always had, take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We are here, working hard to bring you life-changing lessons because you were never meant to beg. You were meant to reign.